Hello, I'm Karen Lips, president of the Network of Enlightened Women. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Congresswoman-elect Jen Kiggans from Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. She earned a degree in international relations from Boston University and taught English in public high schools in Japan. She then served for 10 years in the U.S. Navy, completing 2 deployments as a helicopter pilot. Using her GI Bill, she returned to school after the Navy to become a board-certified adult geriatric primary care nurse practitioner. We are thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you so much, Congresswoman-elect, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the introduction. It's great to be here.
So could you share with us, I think a lot of our members are really interested in what makes you finally flip the switch and decide to run for Congress. Can you talk about your career path and what made you just run, and also how many people had to ask you to run before you decided to throw your hat in the ring?
Well, 2019 was kind of the biggest, that was the hardest decision when I really just hated it. The story goes, I was sitting on the couch yelling at the television, and that's a true story, man. I would yell at, we still do yell at the TV in our house every night, but I just hated politics. I think a lot of us get so frustrated with the negativity and the rhetoric and and this name calling, and the other side is terrible. And it doesn't need to be that way. I mean, it drove me crazy, so crazy that I decided, well, gosh, if I can get off my couch and do something about it too. I saw a lot of Democratic women that had run in 2018 and won seats in Congress, and there wasn't a lot of Republican women that were running for office, especially Republican veteran women. So I thought I was really underrepresented as a conservative female, and just really wanted to to have a voice. And so I figured, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so the state senator in my district retired kind of suddenly that year, and I literally Googled how do you get on a ballot, and it was a lot of collecting signatures and making fundraising phone calls, those types of things, and really just door knocking. Now then you had to get out to the community, and once we got our name on the ballot, we just went to the carpool moms, and I have 4 children, so I knew a lot of moms from school and sporting events, and we had a big Navy family because I'm Navy, my husband's Navy, my kids are Navy, so reached out to them, all of our neighbors, and people in my healthcare field, colleagues. So we really just worked hard with the people we knew and said, hey, I don't like what I see, and if you're as frustrated as we are, I'm going to run this time, so please vote for us. And we won the primary that year, and then really worked really hard in 2019. That was a tough year for Republicans to win. I was very thankful to win that seat on the state level in the state Senate, and then just really have learned a lot the past 3 years. Gosh, just having a seat at the table, and still sitting in the minority though in Richmond. And for me, it was very unbalanced. We had a Democratic controlled Senate, a Democrat controlled House, and a Democrat in the governor's mansion. And we really saw, and I sat through some legislative changes that I didn't agree with, and it was still frustrating because we would lose a lot of votes, especially issues that were very partisan. So I still felt kind of voiceless, and like I wasn't able to do what I wanted, to stand up for things. Even though we would have great floor speeches and we would vote, I still felt like I wasn't able to impact a lot of change. So we saw some change in Virginia last year. We balanced power in the Commonwealth, which was great. And I think a balanced government is a much more just impactful and effective form of government. One party rule is very, I think, a dangerous way to govern. It really leads parties to extremes on both sides. So I really have enjoyed just the balanced government we have in Virginia right now, with a Republican House, a Democratic Senate. We've got a Republican in the governor's mansion. So I saw how much better that was. And I see in DC, we have the same kind of one party rule up in Congress. And, one party was running the House, the Senate, and the White House. So I didn't like the changes that I saw. I didn't like the priorities. And so I wanted to run for Congress. It's always been kind of in the back of my mind, but it was just the timing was good. Redistricting was definitely better for the 2nd district here in Virginia, and it was a little more Republican. So, and we had learned a lot on the state level, and I had learned a lot about campaigning, and we had no Republican women represented from the Commonwealth, and we had 3 Democratic women. So I'm a big believer in balanced power and that all voices should be heard. So it's been just a great honor to be able to run for that seat. And then it was a great victory. And I feel good now. I feel good again because now we have balanced power in Washington, D.C. We got a lot of work to do, but it's a great honor to be there.
Well, you mentioned how there's fewer conservative women than liberal women in Congress. Can you talk about why do you think there are fewer conservative women?
I don't know. I was so focused on working and raising my kids and just being kind of content with life. But then as my kids got older and my kids decided to go to college and join the military, and I started to be more frustrated with as a conservative. I believe in a strong military, and I felt like the Democratic priorities didn't align with mine, and I felt like our military is in a weakened place right now. So that was one reason that really was very personal to me. My dad was a Green Beret in Vietnam. My grandfather was a postalman in World War II. So I have a big military family. My husband's F-18 pilot. It's so I want to be a voice for our military. I want to be an advocate for our military, for a strong military. And I feel like that's something, as a conservative, as a Republican, I can do. But why? Gosh, I don't know. I think that there were more opportunities for Democratic women in 2019 running for the state level, because I would Google opportunities for women and just PACs for women and fundraising opportunities. And there really wasn't a lot in Virginia, especially. We had the Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition, but a lot of opportunities for Democratic women. I think conservative.
When you say opportunities for Democratic women, do you mean like the fundraising side of things? Is that what you're referring to, or training?
Fundraising, support networks? I mean, there was just groups of, I think we've done better in Virginia. We're certainly doing better on the national level. I got to be a part of some great groups that were promoting Republican women running this past cycle, Winning for Women. Elise Stefanik's done some good work with her EPAC, but there's, I think 88 or 89 Democratic women in Congress, and there's only, I think 34 of us on the Republican side. So we're still not that balanced. I can't emphasize that I really believe in balance and that it's best when we have equal number of voices. And so we have some work to do, but I'm hoping to encourage and inspire other conservative women to run.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to speak with our audience today. A lot of our college women feel very isolated and lonely on campus and see that sometimes the loudest voices are more liberal voices, and often they feel very, very silent. Can you talk about any unique challenges you feel like you face as a conservative woman?
Yeah, the resource piece, I would say. I mean, it was so nice to be a part of. There's not a lot on the state level, but on the national level, there was more. And we would get together and we would do things like hold joint fundraising events, and we would do things like hold joint media press events where Elise Stefanik would get us all together and invite all the media and kind of teach us some tricks of the trade. And then we would have the opportunities to speak to press in front of cameras. And then we would be on things like texting chains and group chats and things so that we could support each other. So we'd like each other's social media and comment on each other's, share things within our group. So it was so nice to have kind of that support system, not just financially and with the press, but also just socially. So our voices are there. There's more of us now. We are stronger together. So I love being up in Washington, D.C. now. We just finished orientation, but getting to meet those other women, we're all running for the same reasons. We're running for our kids and improving their education and parents having say in educating safer communities. For me, the military piece, solving the border crisis, some of those humanitarian crisis that's going. So we all kind of run for common sense. We're fiscally conservative. We don't like wasteful spending. We're concerned about the direction of the country, but these are the reasons why the conservative women are running this year. And we have so much in common, and we are just excited that more women ran this cycle than ever. And we can't wait for next cycle to include more women and to be helpful to them.
Already thinking about running again, right? This House cycle, aren't they?
Every 2 years. Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah. Well, talk to us about what were your policy priorities at the state level? What you mentioned supporting a strong military. What do you think your biggest priorities will be at the federal level?
Yeah, so on the state level, as a nurse practitioner, we did a lot with, I'm a geriatric nurse practitioner by trade, so a lot with nursing home reform. The older adult population is kind of a voiceless group that doesn't have a lot of advocates, and people in nursing homes and their caregivers aren't showing up in my office and telling me what they want or sending us letters. So it was great to understand kind of their needs of not just the patients and their caregivers, but also the nurses and the healthcare providers. So we did a lot with wanting to help with workforce shortages and nursing shortages, expanding nursing scholarships, especially for mental health care providers. We feel like there's not a lot, we all talk about mental health care, but advocating for the people that actually give the mental health care was something that I felt passionately about. During COVID, we were able to do a lot with isolation and visitation policies and just clarifying that, allowing for things like clergy visits, caregivers to be informed. But that's been something that there's a lot of work to do. Nursing home reform, I've loved doing it on the state level. I look forward to continuing that on the federal level in some capacity. Also for veterans, on the state level, we do a lot of veteran advocacy. So I was able to start a military spouse liaison position. I was a military spouse for 20 years. I know how hard it is to move and establish residency in other places and start your kids in other schools and be familiar with other laws. So having that position now in Richmond that works under the Department of Veterans Services that is there for military spouses, that was kind of a great victory. But even we've made some progress with things like reducing the taxes for military retirement pay, incentivizing our veterans to stay in Virginia and live and raise their families. So there's still work to do, but we are getting there. But those issues that I've been passionate about on the state level, I will continue to be passionate about on the federal level. Now it's active duty military, not just our veterans, that we can take care of and their families, including things like improving our base infrastructures and our quality of life for our sailors, our servicemen and women and their families. I can't wait to be an advocate for that. Really want to be involved in the Armed Services Committee and to do some, or possibly appropriations, just to do some work with our active duty military. And then always healthcare. And that's always going to be an important issue for me as well.
Well, you mentioned the issue with military spouses, and one issue we've been working on and new is it turns out that there's some occupational licensing rules that can get changed in the states that can make such a big difference for spouses when they're moving. We've been working on an issue in Tennessee, and I've been following a lot of reform that's been done for military spouses. Can you talk about any other work you've been doing or policy ideas that you'd like to see implemented that could help working women?
Yeah, those ones you mentioned, we have seen in Virginia, and there's still some work to do, but how can we make it easier for people who have licensed professions like teachers and nurses specifically, but to be able to transfer those licenses so they can be employed and continue their work here in Virginia. I think having that military spouse liaison position is, we didn't know where to turn. I think part of the battle is getting the word out to our military spouses that this person is here and has the answers to your questions about things like licensures and job opportunities. And it's hard for military spouses. We move every 2 to 3 years. So, it's hard to establish much seniority. Some professions are, I feel like nurses have, there's a lot of opportunities for work. Gosh, now teachers, there's some jobs that are a little bit easier to transfer, but not all of them. But we want to help our spouses, men and women, to be able to just find the jobs that they want. So I hope that we can get that word out to places like the ombudsman and the commands that there are resources out there for our spouses. And then, if there's other areas for improvement, let us know. Let the state legislatures know, your House Delegates representative, your state senators, so that we can continue to find meaningful ways to make that transition easier, so you can be licensed quicker or faster. If you're having trouble, reach out to someone so that we can keep that ball rolling for you and make changes so that moving process is easier.
I'd like to turn to the topic of leadership. Could you talk about how your service in the Navy has prepared you for being an elected official, and what leadership skills you'd really recommend that college women today focus on developing for their future careers?
Yeah, gosh, it's a great honor to serve with so many veterans, especially in Congress this year. There's of my freshman class of 42, there's 15 of us that are prior military, and I'm the only female in that group. But so I would love to see some more veteran women running. But it's we're brought up in a world where we see both good and bad leadership styles in the military, and I think everything that I have done as a healthcare provider, as a state senator, hopefully as a future congresswoman, stems from my time and leadership kind of experience in the military, and listening to all voices, making sure everyone is appreciated, everyone is heard, everyone is valued as a team. I mean, my campaigns have been like mini squadrons. I always think, it's just been a great tight knit group of people that's focused on a mission. We're very mission driven in the military. And so the campaign was like that, and really just accomplishing that mission. But going forward to Congress, it's a bigger mission. Now the mission is serving the country. How are we going to keep our country strong economically? At the all the ways we ran off of that, like an economy, the border, at the in our communities, and the military. But that, for me, the military strength base is so important. But the military was a great background for me to really establish a great foundation for a leadership style and for leadership skills that I think have been effective. And military is one way. Not everyone wants to be in the military, but really, just if you want to be a community leader or eventually run for Congress, my advice is always find something you're passionate about. Do that line of work, do that job, get some skills, and then run for office after you have some life experience in some area, because then you can run off that, and that's how I've legislated, and that's how I continue to lead in the areas that are my background, the military and healthcare, and being a mom. So whatever your choice that you study in school and that your job is, take that experience and translate that into your passion and why you're running, because I find that best, just to be able to focus on those things and things that we all have in common. Like the parenting piece is a easy one, because a lot of people are parents and share those similar concerns. But I think everyone cares about military healthcare, and just find your area and run with that and be passionate about it.
Well, you mentioned the skills you picked up as a mom. What do you think helped you as an elected official? What skills that you developed as a mom have been beneficial to you as an elected official?
Oh gosh, probably breaking up fights and just putting people in timeout that are not up for bad behavior. It's funny, we had some press that were like the media can be not so nice, especially during campaigns, and we had some reporters that would just be aggressive, and I didn't think were very polite, and so I'd say, well, we're going to put them in timeout for a while, and they're going to think about what they did, and we'll let them out of timeout, and we'll talk to them eventually. And but those that were polite and kind and respectful, and they're going to be rewarded for their good behavior. So I think a lot of those kind of mom skills about keeping the peace, and I'm a big believer in rewarding good behavior and ignoring bad behavior, and think about what you did, and then at least that's what works at home. So there's all, for those of us who are moms, I mean, there's all kinds of things you learn. I mean, just by raising kids, I mean, and you can translate that into any line of work, but especially politics. So just be kind. Words matter. All the things your mom taught you, that the lessons that we really should all be listening to. But have a thick skin, and kindness goes a long way. I'll say that. Smile, make friends. These are not hard things to do, but they take some self-discipline. So I'll say that. But same rules that make your house run smoothly, I think can make government run smoothly. So that's why we need more women running and more moms running.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like there's been a number of efforts to try to get more women in office, but one of the challenges, there's so many evening commitments often to run for office. Could you talk about the challenges of kind of the logistics of running for office as a mom, and how that's kind of impacted maybe the season of life for you?
Yes. Yeah. It's great if you have kids that are old enough to drive. So I have 3 of my 4 kids drive, and so they're pretty independent. But because things like the grocery shopping, I don't do as much as I should, so I need them to help out, and things like the laundry. And my house is, I am out a lot of nights of the week, so I don't have the cleanest house in the neighborhood. I don't have the my laundry is definitely not folded. but those are the things that I feel like, gosh, even when I wasn't running for office, my house was still a mess and we still didn't have the lines. Really no difference. But I have a husband who helps, and I have my children who are helpful. So you find your support system, and then you do what you need to do. But the kids do eat a lot of pizza and probably more fast food than they should. But they've also learned to be more independent. I hope that they are watching, and my husband works full time, and I work full time, and I try to and to be helpful and lead in our community. So it's funny because my kids, my one is a captain of a sailing team in the Naval Academy. My one is a senior class president. My other one is on student council in junior high. So it's, I think they kind of watch, and they they always tell me at the beginning, oh, we're going to run for this and that. And I think it's funny that they think that's like a normal thing to do, just to run for the whatever, like at their schools and so they are watching, and not just my kids, but all kids are watching. And I can't tell you how many kids came up to me at events and would quote my commercials on television. And we tried to run a positive campaign, and I was careful about the words that came out of my mouth. And I don't know if all candidates do this, but kids are watching. They watch TV, they watch social media. They would quote lines back from my ads, so I knew they were watching. So we need to be watching what we say, because there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of that just false rhetoric that comes out. I'm not a bad person. I don't believe my opponent was a bad person. But when you say really negative things, like, kids soak that stuff in, and they have a hard time differentiating between what's true and not. So I just think, as politicians, I think women do a better job of this, but I'm at least mindful that kids are watching the campaign I run. So we need to focus on keeping it factual and not beating each other up, because I won the election, so now I need everybody to just respect the office. You don't have to agree with me all the time, but respect the office, and kids need to respect the office. So, and spreading a bunch of lies and hate and discontent throughout a campaign makes it harder for whoever wins the election. So I think we need to do a better job at that, for our kids.
Well, thank you so much for your words of wisdom today. I wanted to end by asking you if you have any final words of advice for young conservative women on campuses, and also if you have any podcasts or books you might recommend to our viewers.
Yeah, so gosh, for advice, I mean, there's other conservative women out there, and I think that we are becoming stronger and braver, and utilizing our voices more. And you're going to get attacked for it sometimes, but your skin will get thicker, and find your friends out there. It doesn't all have to be about politics. I mean, on your groups and sports teams and friends, I mean, you can make friends and keep politics out of it. But when it comes to, if you are interested in that and being politically inclined and active, and find those friends, because they are out there. They are either at churches, or they are living in your housing, or they are there. So find them, and you're stronger together. And then your voices should be just as strong as the other side. So don't be afraid, and be brave. And I remember the first time I'd stand on stage and talk about politics. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So be brave, and find your friends. But gosh, I would love people to follow. We're gonna, as soon as we get us sworn in on January 3rd, we'll have newsletters that we'll put out weekly, and my social media I do myself on Facebook, Instagram. So we dabble on Twitter. I don't love Twitter, but I think it's right. Like, I don't like.
What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram handle? That's probably the one.
Jen Kiggans, and Facebook right now is Senator Jen Kiggans, although we'll change it to Congresswoman Jen Kiggans on January 3rd. And then there's a lot of my colleagues as well. There's the Republican women that are in Congress now, and the senators. I like social media because it's my voice. It's not the media's voice. So I would encourage people to follow me on social media, and my colleagues, and let me know how I can be helpful. I will be up in DC. We're excited to get there in January. Come visit, keep in touch, and if there's anything I can do to answer questions about running for office or campaigning or anything in government, please reach out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll definitely be watching you as you take office in January. And we look forward to following you in Congress. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.